what would be some of the spiritual parallels between Noah and the ark and what we see today in Jesus?
Well, we have protection in Jesus. We have peace in Christ. We have salvation in Christ. Those are the three major things that we see in parallel to what's going on here with Noah.
We have God's going to judge the earth because of sin. God will always save those who honor him. God saves us from his judgment. We can trust God to remember us. Afterwards, we are to go and fill the earth. There's the comparison between Jesus that gets us through God's wrath and the ark that gets us through God's wrath. So tremendous section here. And in verse 20, Noah builds this altar, sacrifices, and worships God. And it says there that it's a soothing aroma. Are our sacrifices to God a soothing aroma to God?
Yes, they are. And we saw in the tabernacle that there's the altar of incense that represented the prayers that were going up to God. And he says that was a soothing aroma in his nostrils as well, using that anthropomorphic language. So we see this picture of smoke, whether through sacrifices or smoke whether through incense, rising up and being pleasing to God when they're given in the right way. The sacrifices are something that the people, the believers in God, are sacrificing to him as worship. The prayers are something that they're providing to God and worshiping God through those prayers. So once again, we see God taking a personal interest in his creation and taking, I think, enjoyment from it.
Now, in verse 21, it talks here about how I will never again curse the ground on account of man, for the intent of man's heart is evil from his youth. Now, Steve, that reminds me of back in chapter 6, verse 5. What did that verse say?
That the wickedness of man was great on the earth, and that every intent of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually.
I think there's both before the flood and after the flood, there's this rather clear statement of what God thinks about us. And it draws a rather drastic statement here about people being evil. And I don't think there's a whole lot of wiggle room here to get out of what it's saying.